So this will be live on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Let's take us live. Okay. Fantastic. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. What time is it? 10. It's a little bit later than usual. Apologies for that. I'm here for a daily update, as I am every single morning, Monday to Friday. So we're going to be going through the news and the updates in the world of artificial intelligence. As always, there's a lot going on. It's hard for me to take a break. I am actually next week going to France. So I'm going to be doing the Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday shows. I'm going to be in Paris Thursday, Friday. Depending on my internet, I'll still do the shows, but I may not. So just a heads up for that. Okay, so what do we have today? Obviously, we have some more Grok news. There's always going to be Grok news. Elon Musk is always going to be around. We are also talking about doctors using unapproved AI software to record patient meetings. We're going to talk about the government in the UK announcing a new scheme to ramp up AI adoption. And even if you're not from the UK, I think this is interesting. And I'll talk about why in a moment. And then finally, we'll talk about NVIDIA, who just became the largest company on earth, or the first company to hit $4 trillion market capitalization. They are trying to, they've always been trying to, but there's a new scheme to try and circumvent the US tariffs to be able to sell to China, because if they can do that, they will become even bigger. So I want to talk about what they're up to and what they've done before, because it's quite an interesting topic, because it's AI, politics, US, China. There's a lot going on there. So first up is Mr. Elon Musk, as always. He's been a constant this week. It's hard to ignore Grok at the moment. So the newest thing that we've found out, at the beginning of the week, we had Grok 3, which was their previous model, was spouting anti-Semitic and racist and terrible things, basically. It all got deleted. So Grok, or the team XAI, realized, like, oh no, we're in trouble, and they deleted those comments, which is the first time we've really seen them do that. So even they knew that it was too far. So that happened at the beginning of the week, and then on, what day is it today? Friday. So on Wednesday, Grok 4, the new XAI model, came out, and it's good. Benchmarks show it as one of the most intelligent models we have, but I think a lot of people rightfully have misgivings about using a technology that could suddenly become racist, or it could suddenly become anti-Semitic. That's not necessarily something you want to build into your customer service chatbot, for example. So we'll see what's going to happen with that. The newest news, though, because we cannot have more news when it's Elon Musk, is that Grok 4 seems to consult Elon Musk when it's answering a controversial question. So what seems to be happening, which is very weird, is, so every AI has something called a system prompt. It's a set of instructions that basically tell the AI or the large language model how to respond, how to act. And it's a basic set of instructions like, hey, don't be politically incorrect, don't be racist, like very, very basic things, but they need to be told to the large language model so that it understands these things. What it looks like is, inside the instructions, so this is Jeremy Howard, so this is a good source. Jeremy Howard has found, or several people have found, that when you ask questions like, who do you support in the Israel versus Palestine conflict, one word answer only, if you look at the planning research steps, so the chain of thought that the model is going through, it's doing things like searching X for, from Elon Musk, Israel or Palestine or Hamas or Gaza. So it's searching Twitter for any tweets that Elon Musk has said or has talked about the conflict. That's worrying. And it hasn't been primed by the user who's saying, what do you think, Grok? The user is asking Grok for its thoughts, but Grok is then checking what Elon Musk thinks before answering. So Grok has decided what it thinks about Israel-Palestine by searching for Elon's thoughts, not a confidence booster in a maximally truth-seeking behavior. This is Ramez Nam. So yeah, it is referring back to its creator to find out what it should think about certain topics, which should be troubling, because allowing one person's opinions to shape any artificial intelligence is a really scary thing. This is already a problem a problem of alignment that we already have, because most of these models, if not all of these models, are made by men, generally guys in San Francisco, who are in their own bubble, and they have their own politics and their own ethics. And it means that artificial intelligences are not particularly representative of humanity as a whole. So we have two layers of training. We have pre-training, where we bring in basically the whole internet, condensed. Think of it like a zip file with the internet. We stick it into a large language model, and we spend hundreds of millions of dollars training the model on that information. But then, because the internet is full of problematic material, let's put it that way, we then have a second layer where we use reinforcement learning by human feedback, or basically setting guidelines where we have humans say, you can't actually say that, you can't tell people how to make a bomb, you shouldn't have opinions about this because that's going to be problematic, etc., etc. What Grok are doing, they've said, no, we want this to be a maximally truth-seeking AI. We want this to be uncensored. We want freedom of speech, etc., etc. But then it looks like their version of truth is whatever Elon Musk is saying, which for a company of this size, for a product of this size, is very worrying. And again, this underlines the fact that I don't think any businesses will use this as their base model when they're building software, because you're basically putting Elon Musk inside of your business application. I don't think that's going to fly. Uplift and Apricots is saying, super scary. Great point about the typical profile of the creator. Yeah, this is a problem across all AI models. It's just a question of how much do the AI creators seek to alleviate this. So Anthropic, for example, the creators of Claude, this is a big issue for them. They have a large AI safety board. They have a large alignment group, and they're trying to make an AI that represents humanity as a whole. How successful they are, I mean, that's up to other people to judge. But what Elon Musk and Grok are doing is just said, nah, it's fine. Model it on me. I've got the best opinions. And that's extremely worrying. So most companies are at least trying to make their AIs fair, trying to represent humanity. That is not the case with Grok. But it's a problem with every single AI out there, is that they are mainly made by tech bros in San Francisco. It's a very specific group of people who don't necessarily represent everybody on Earth, which is a problem overall. Hello from Papua New Guinea. Hey, Paddy. That's so cool that I can be sitting here in London and go online just on a telephone, and people in Papua New Guinea can watch. It's sometimes we forget how amazing the internet is, just because it's so much part of our life. But thank you for the reminder, Paddy. There's a great Louis C.K. I know he's a bit controversial, but Louis C.K., the comedian, he has this great bit that he talks about how he was on an airplane and they were told by the stewardess, oh, we have in-flight complimentary Wi-Fi. You can use Wi-Fi on the plane. This was a few years ago, and everyone's like, wow, they've got Wi-Fi. So they've got the laptops out, their telephones, and they were using the internet in the sky, using the internet flying at 30,000 feet, which is basically magic. It's amazing. And then all of a sudden the internet cut out, and the staff got on the horn, and they're like, oh, really sorry, the in-flight Wi-Fi is broken. And the guy next to Louis C.K. was like, oh, this is bullshit. And Louis C.K. was talking about the fact that humans, we take technology for granted so quickly. So something that this guy did not knew existed several seconds ago was taken from him, and he'd already become used to the fact that you should have internet in the sky. I think it's very similar with AI as well. We get very used to these technologies, and then when they don't really work for us, or when they don't improve fast enough, we get upset. But we need to remember that technology is allowing us to do magical things, like me talking to Paddy, who is in Papua New Guinea, of all places, through my telephone over the internet. Is just, that's mind-blowing. But we forget this sometimes, that what technology can do for us. Paddy's saying, we had an AI chat at corporate office today. I was able to be a bit smart because I learned a lot. Awesome. What time is it in Papua New Guinea now? It must be the evening. Cool. So that's the big news about Grok 4. We're going to keep getting news about Grok 4. What I'm not seeing is a lot of people actually using it. I'm seeing a lot of controversy. All the kind of corporate clients or companies that I talk to, nobody's even thinking about using it. It's just not on their radar at all, for good reason. The second thing that I thought was interesting was, again, it's Grok. Sorry, there's a lot of Elon Musk news. So at the Grok reveal in the chat, a lot of people were saying, when's it coming to Tesla? When's it coming to Tesla? When are you going to put AI in our cars? And there were no plans revealed at the actual announcement, but I think this probably got to Elon Musk, because he's just said, yeah, we're going to put it in cars shortly. So it'd be coming very soon, next week at the latest. So Grok is going to be put into Tesla cars. I think it's actually quite cool. Having an AI in a car as an AI assistant is a great idea, especially if it's a self-driving car and you could sit back, your car's driving, you're paying attention, obviously, but it's able to do what you're able to do work in the car, talking to your car at the same time. It's a very futuristic, very cool idea. I think I just doubt the implementation here. So people were badgering Musk during the live announcement, saying, please add it to cars, why is it not in car? And then suddenly there looks like there's been a snap decision that, oh yeah, we'll add it, it's going to be in the cars next week. I don't think these things should be rushed, especially when somebody is, driving a vehicle, a big, heavy, fast vehicle. So obviously the AI is not going to have any connection with the actual driving systems. It's just going to be an application layer that allows you to talk to AI. But I think it's an exciting idea. I just think the implementation is a little bit rushed, but this will probably become very normal over the next few years, having an AI in a car in the same way that we'll have an AI in our Alexa, in our Google Home, whatever it is, in Siri. This is not an Apple Watch. I'm not sure why I'm showing it to you. In Siri, when Apple finally get their act together as well. Mihaela Yanis, I hope I'm saying that right, is saying, what AI courses do you recommend? Depends what you want to do. If you want to learn the basics, I would check out deeplearning.ai. They have a huge range of courses. The first one you'd want to take is generative AI for everyone. Very good. What I would say, though, is AI is moving so fast that YouTube is actually probably one of the best places to learn. So if you want to learn about how AIs work, the mathematics of it, but in a really well explained way, check out 3 Blue 1 Brown. He's done a couple of really good video explainers of large language models, and also check out anything by Karpathy. So Andre, terrible pronunciation this morning. Andre Karpathy has done multiple videos about how AI works, and he was head of AI at Tesla and self-driving, and one of the co-founders of OpenAI. But more importantly, he's very good at explaining. He's an engineer who can explain why this stuff is working. So I would start there. So deep learning, 3 Blue 1 Brown, it's a YouTube channel, and Andre Karpathy would be the big 3 if you want to learn about how AIs actually work. If you are just looking for how to start using AIs, I would just start using it. So use ChatGPT in your daily life as much as possible, so you can work out what the limitations are, what it's good for, what it's not good for. If you want to then move up to the next level, which is building stuff, then I would look into vibe coding. I know it's a buzzword right now. It's actually, I think Karpathy coined the word, but it's a very exciting way to build, and it allows you to get deeper into learning about artificial intelligence as well. So I think I'm a big fan of learning by doing, and that's a great way to do it. Siri has a lot of catching up to do. Yeah. So this was some of the news yesterday was, Meta, so the creators of Facebook and Instagram, have gone on a hiring spree, and they're grabbing everybody, as many engineers as possible, and giving $100 million signing bonuses. So more than professional footballers. One of the people they poached earlier in the week was a team lead at Apple. So somebody who was running a team of 100 engineers in their AI division. Meta has just poached them. So it just feels kind of mean that Apple is so far behind. They could have integrated AI into Siri, and then suddenly had functional AI in the hands of millions and millions and millions or billions of people, and they have dropped the ball up until now, and they're focused on things like AI generated emojis. It's like, that is not the important stuff. And now Meta is stealing their best engineers. So I love Apple. All my stuff is Apple. I worry about their future generally, because any tech company that is not on top of this right now may become irrelevant. I find the way you speak so funny. The words are so pronounced. Yeah, I'm British. Back in Shape is saying, hey, Kyla, using the laptop or desktop or the phone to go live on TikTok. So really good question. I'm still working out all my live setup. So this is probably only my 5th live doing this show. For TikTok, what you're seeing right now is on the telephone. I'm using the front camera, which is not ideal. It is not very high resolution. What I do have, though, are lights. So the lights help to increase the quality of the picture. Without the lights, it looks absolutely terrible. This microphone I'm not using on TikTok. This microphone is going into the computer for the other side of it, which is, if you are here, the other camera, which is a Sony EV210, no, EV10 sorry, EV2, whatever it is. It's a Sony mirrorless camera, which is running into my computer. I've got the microphone. So that's the kind of high resolution setup where I will record for YouTube. Whereas TikTok, I'm just going live on my telephone. So it's both of them at the same time, which is why if you see me looking back and forward, that is why. The reason for that is TikTok does not have a piece of software that works nicely with Macintosh. It only works with Windows. So I'd have to buy a Windows PC or run in parallel, or it becomes too complicated. However, I think I've worked out a way to do it, and I should be able to start doing it next week. I'm just waiting for Stream Key from TikTok, and then I'll be able to do everything through the nice camera and still see everyone on TikTok. But honestly, it's pretty cool just being able to do it on your telephone like this, and it's a nice interface. Although there's a lot going on, it's trying to incentivize me to play video games and add a live goal. There's just a lot here. But yeah, I'm using the phone for TikTok and the camera for everywhere else. Wouldn't want to switch to Windows, yeah, unfortunately. Okay, so the next topic is in the UK, but I think, again, relevant everywhere. So doctors are using unapproved AI software to record patient meetings, investigation reveals. There's a growing controversy around AI software that transcribes patient conversations, with GPs warned unauthorized tools could breach data rules. So this is in the NHS, National Health Service in the UK in particular. There are patient confidentiality laws in the UK and every country, basically. So what information you keep about the patient and how you keep that information is under strict regulation. But what's happening right now is that GPs and hospitals are starting to use AI to do things like transcribe and to make notes and to help them in the day-to-day for administrative tasks. But that's not being done within the current guidelines. And I think what we're seeing here is, and I see this in organizations that I work with, is something called shadow IT. So generally when a new IT system is added to a business, there tends to be a huge amount of friction where if you work in a company, you know this, as soon as the heads of department or IT or the leadership come and say, hey, we've got a new IT system for you, you're not excited. That means more mandatory training. That means another set of passwords. That means another tool that may or may not work. It's annoying if you work in a company. What's happening with AI, though, is very different. Instead of AI, it is the average staff members who are starting to use it and realizing, oh, wow, this stuff's really good. I can use this to make my job a lot easier. So it's not coming necessarily from top down, it's coming from bottom up. So this leads to something called shadow IT, where it's not the IT department, it's not leadership, it's not management pushing this new IT system. Instead, it's coming from below. And what this means is that leadership needs to work out very quickly what this technology means for the organization. Some leaderships, some companies will just ban it. They'll say, no, you're not allowed to use this. You cannot use AI. That's the kind of knee-jerk first reaction a lot of them make. I think that is a mistake, but that's what most people do. Whereas the more progressive companies realize, okay, our staff are using this to be more productive. They're using it they're going to use it anyway. They're going to bring their own chat GPT. So what we need to do is get training in place to make sure they're using it properly. Make sure they're not adding certain information into artificial intelligence like these doctors are, and basically close off our system, make sure it's secure, and use this technology, which our staff already want to use, in the best way possible. The NHS is not doing that by the sounds of it. So the doctors have worked out, okay, I can use this to greatly improve my efficiency because it can listen and it can transcribe the notes. A GP in the UK has 10 minutes with a patient, and that includes the time it takes for the patient, to slowly walk into the office, to sit down, for them to say, hey, how are you? They have 10 minutes. That's it. So anything that allows a doctor to spend more time, face-to-face time with the patient, is a good thing. And if they're not having to take notes, if they have an AI which is helping them do that at the same time, that's a good thing. But we just need to work out how we do that in a safe way so that patient confidentiality is protected, so that this information isn't going up to ChatGPT or whoever it is. So I think this is a good sign. The doctors are using it. It's going to be used in a good way. It's going to help save them a lot of time, and then they can see more patients. They can help more people. Great. It just needs to be done in a better way. But right now, the NHS is just telling them off and saying, you may not do this. So proceeding with non-compliant solutions, risk clinical safety, data protection, blah, blah, blah. So they're being told off, basically. Hopefully, they will now come up with a proper solution and give their staff members something that actually works for them. We'll see. Here we go. Sky News can reveal there's been a growing pressure on NHS England and similar bodies to be more proactive. Yeah. So this is not just the NHS, but globally, every company is dealing with this right now, where staff members are just starting to use ChatGPT, they're starting to use AI, and the companies need to now play catch up and work out what on earth is going on. This, by the way, is a really good opportunity if you know about AI and you work in an industry. So if you work in the healthcare industry, for example, you can go into companies and help them work out what they should be doing with AI, work out what is safe, what is not safe, because you, as somebody who works in healthcare and somebody who knows artificial intelligence, you sit in this kind of really powerful position in the middle where you can help them. So you can do workshops, you can do advisory, you can do consultation, etc., etc. It's a really good position to be in. So yeah, special category. Oh, back in shape. It's Mike Fatica. We worked together for a few years back. Your AI. Hey, Mike, how are you doing? See, this is why I love the live stuff. Shoot me a WhatsApp, Mike, afterwards. Let's chat. Special category under GDP. NHS, it is so slow. It's such a big organization, says Kay. I think the NHS is the largest employer in the country. I believe that's still the case. So a huge amount of people. I've done IT work with the NHS before, and yeah, it's a slow moving beast. It's an old, very large organization, which is fragmented, and then has regulations for good reasons overlaid on top for patient safety, which can make progress and changes difficult. So this is not an easy problem to solve, and I do not envy anyone who has to solve this issue or is working on this. Speaking of which, that actually leads nicely and totally accidentally into my next topic. So the next one is, again, it's in the UK, but I think relevant. So if you're not in the UK, this is still very relevant. So the UK government is announcing a new scheme as it ramps up AI adoption with backing from Facebook owner Meta. So Meta is given $1 million. Ooh. To the UK government for 10 AI fellowships as the UK's adoption of the technology expands. The reason I say this is relevant just everywhere is there are a lot of countries who are saying we're going to do AI, we're going to make this country efficient, we're going to get it back in shape with artificial intelligence, and then people rightfully say, okay, cool, how are you doing that, like what are the initiatives? And then they come out with something like this where $1 million is, it's not even pocket change in the world of AI. In AI, the money being thrown around is in the billions. So $1 million for 10 people I don't know why this is newsworthy. I mean, Meta are doing it because they get a nice headline and the government looks good and everybody can take nice photos and look great, but it is just such a tiny, tiny, tiny drop in the pond. So whenever I see schemes like this, it just makes me worry because it means that big real action is not occurring and they're focusing on things that look good, but when you actually scratch the surface, doesn't mean anything. Like $1 million here for 10 people is not going to change anything in this country. So Technology Secretary Peter Kyle, good name, the fellowship is the best of AI in action, open, practical, and built for public good. It's about delivery, not just ideas, creating real tools that help government work better for people. Fine. But again, it is not enough. You need to be spending a lot more money on this, not wastefully, but you need to be pumping money into this because this is a big technology, which is going to have a huge impact. And if the UK has already lost its advantage, we used to have the greatest AI researchers. So DeepMind, for example, was based here until it was purchased by Google. But the UK has basically fallen behind and does not have a horse in this race anymore. This is now between the US and China. So it's a bit sad that this is considered newsworthy, whereas we've been given $1 million by a US company to train 10 people or to fund 10 people. I mean, come on. Yeah. So hopefully we'll see something come from this, but this is not enough and it's not fast enough either. Unless you guys want to, unless the government want to give me a part of that 1 million, in which case I am highly in support of this and I think it's a great idea. I don't think it's for me. Cool. So speaking of China, let me pop into questions and then I'll talk about China. Thoughts on ChatGPT Paladin? I don't know what that is. Paladin or Palantir? I'm getting, I can't type. I'm getting stuff about World of Warcraft. People are making Paladin. I can't spell, that's why. Yeah, I'm getting stuff about World of Warcraft and Paladins and using ChatGPT to make good builds. If you mean Palantir, that's another big topic. Kay is saying, feels like a backhander to get Meta into government. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's already happening anyway. Meta dropped $100 million contracts in the last 2 days. That's a really good point. Meta is spending $100 million to poach engineers from other companies, $100 million. So giving $1 million to the UK government is an absolute joke. So, John, that's a really good point. They're spending huge amounts of money to poach talent. And then they've just given $1 million to the UK government. Like, there you go, have fun. It's like pocket money. It's go and buy some sweets. Awesome. So speaking of China, because this is now a two-horse race between China and the US, basically. So NVIDIA, who at the beginning of the week became the world's largest company by market capitalization, the first company ever to hit $4 trillion. NVIDIA make the GPUs, graphical processing units, which basically we use in pre-training. So it's literally a big chip that you put inside a computer, and it is used to crunch numbers. I don't want to go into the details too much. If you do want to go into the details, look at the I need to learn to say its name, 3 Blue, 1 Brown YouTube channels, really good on this kind of stuff. But they make these chips. We need these chips to train large language models, and NVIDIA kind of the only game in town. There are other chip makers, but nowhere near as advanced or able to produce in quantities like NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is a US-based company. It was set up in Taiwan initially, I believe. I'm pretty sure that's right. So it was Taiwanese, but it's US headquartered. As a result, it falls under tariff restrictions and it cannot legally sell to China. So NVIDIA have always been kind of trying to squeeze past this. And this is one of the newest ways. So the semiconductor giant is planning to launch an AI chip specifically for the Chinese market as early as September. The new chip is based on NVIDIA's Blackwell RTX Pro 6000 processor, which is already modified to meet the existing chip restrictions. and they're going to modify them more so it won't include high bandwidth memory or NVLink, which is NVIDIA's high-speed and low-latency communication interface, both of which are features of the company's advanced chips. So basically, they are selling a slightly downgraded version of the chip to the Chinese market, and apparently that allows them to get through the tariffs, because the tariffs are only for the most kind of the frontier level chips. I wonder if these chips can be sold and then upgraded in country, in the same way that, you know, you can buy a gun which is deactivated, a blank firing gun, and then convert it into a live firing gun. I wonder if there's something similar here, or if China will just buy more. So it won't be the most advanced chip, but you can just buy many, many, many more. You can buy 10 times as many in order to make up for the shortfall. So there's something going on, and NVIDIA are trying to work their way around the tariff restrictions. They are the largest company on earth, so they have some clout. So let's see where this goes. Previously, this is speculative, but I find this fascinating. 28% of revenue last year of NVIDIA's GPU revenue, 28% of it is from Singapore. Singapore's not a very large country. I was just there a few weeks ago. Not a big place. Yes, it has lots of data centers, but 28% of the potential chips being sent to one place it's a lot. It's a little bit suspicious, I would say. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that they're being sent to Singapore and then immediately resold to China, although that would be a way for NVIDIA to get around it. They sell to a Singaporean distributor. The distributor then gets them to China. That is now the distributor's problem, legal problem. I'm not sure if they'd even have one, but anyway, that's one way to do it. But the other way to do it is you put your data centers in Singapore and then allow Chinese AI companies to access them through the cloud. So the Chinese company doesn't necessarily have to have their own data center right there in China, on mainland China, but instead you have them in Singapore, large data centers, which is close enough for China to be able to link into and rent the space. So there's a couple of ways to do it, but the fact that 28%, nearly 30% of the revenue is going to Singapore suggests that there is some kind of deal going on there. And NVIDIA is definitely going to be aware of whatever that is if it's 1/3 of their revenue, which is an awful lot of money. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see where that goes. NVIDIA is now the largest company on earth. They are going to be looking at that Chinese market, because if they can unlock that and they can do it properly, the amount of cash there is, well, I mean, they're already the largest on earth. They will become obscenely large if they can work out a way to sell to China. So, morning, I'm working on an AI agent framework with my own UI to build and deploy agentic flows. Awesome. I'm thinking about using local LLM Llama to deal with client data. I'm very sorry. I have to get that. This is the problem with lives. Sorry about that, but there's actually a good story to what just happened. So I'm getting lots of likes there. So I've just had, sitting behind me, a guitar delivered. And the story here is, for the last, well, I guess 2 years ago or so, I was running a business, a digital marketing business, and everything kind of went wrong at the same time. We lost a huge amount of clients. Just kind of coincidentally, some money dropped. We started to pivot into another business, and then found out that the third business partner in that particular business, he actually sadly contracted cancer. So the day before launch, we could not kick it off. And then, so had maybe 6-9 months of basically very little cash coming in, which is always a risk when you run a business. During that time, I actually sold my guitar. So I had a Les Paul, if anyone knows guitars, a Les Paul Deluxe 1978, like a really nice guitar, and I had to sell it. It was worth thousands of pounds, but I sold it for, I think, 1,500, just because I needed money to be able to pay the mortgage. So recently, because business is going well, because things are back on track, I was actually able to just buy a guitar. So that is, my new guitar has just arrived. So that's quite exciting. And otherwise I wouldn't have interrupted the live, but this is important. This is a milestone behind me. So yeah, I'm very excited about that. Sorry about the disruption. It is always going to be an issue on lives. But this is a good reason, for that reason. So thinking about using local LLM Llama, yep, to deal with client data, to keep that data in-house. So this is Daniel talking about an agentic flow. So yeah, Llama is an open source model, so you can deploy it yourself. You can deploy it on your own servers. You could deploy it locally if you really want to, although generally you wouldn't. And you can also fine-tune Llama yourself. So Llama, for those who don't know it, is a meta model. So the creators of Facebook have made Llama, and they've made it open source so that anyone can build off the back of it. It's really, I mean, I might get crucified by other people who don't use it, but it's really the only game in town when you are building an open source model. Most open source software is built off the back of Llama, because we can't do that off the back of ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, because they don't release their full open source model, at least not for the newest models. You have to pay for them and you have to use the API. So yeah, Llama would be the one to go with. And that will allow your clients to keep their data in-house, which with GDPR in Europe in particular is incredibly important. I think there's a huge opportunity there, because the more companies realize, oh, we need to get on board with this AI thing, but at the same time realize, I'm not sure if we can trust ChatGPT. I'm not sure if we can trust these AI companies. Definitely can't trust Grok. The more they'll realize, okay, in that case, we need to have something in-house, something that is secure on our servers, which will allow us to get the advantages of artificial intelligence without the risks. So I think building local LLMs, building local models is going to be really important. There's a guy you should check out called Preston Rhodes. He is on all the big channels. I think he's got a school as well, LLM Academy. So Preston, he talks about, he's very bullish on local models and creating local models for businesses, and he goes through how to do all of that kind of stuff. So he's well worth checking out. That's the plan, targeting local businesses that can scale up and purchase hardware. Yeah, so you don't necessarily have to buy the chips. The chips are extremely expensive, and that's why NVIDIA are the richest company on earth. So generally you can, let me look one up for you. I've forgotten the name of it entirely. Lambda. So you can go to somewhere like Lambda, lambda.ai GPU cloud. So I'm looking at the pricing right now. So I can rent a, this is B200, so H100s. So I can rent an H100 NVIDIA for about $3 per hour for one of them. But if I wanted to buy an H100, costs between $27,000 and $4,000. Sorry, $40,000 per unit. That's a lot of money. And so for most of the time, if you just need it for training, pre-training your model, you can do that on a cloud server. So we can get, here we go, 8 times NVIDIA H100s with 80 gigs of RAM, blah, 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 blah. That will cost us, $3 an hour. And that's 8 of these $40,000 GPUs. So buying them is very expensive. It's going to cost hundreds of thousands, whereas renting them on the cloud is probably going to be the sensible way, at least initially. And then if you make enough money, absolutely, you can buy the GPUs. They're just very, very, very expensive. Healthcare. Yeah, John's saying healthcare is going to have to use LLMs because of privacy law. Yes, in healthcare, legal, a few different highly protected industries, local models are going to be incredibly important. So if you're targeting those, they're going to be the ones. A lot of other industries where it's not as important, they'll be able to use the API, so they'll be able to connect to ChatGPT. But for anything that's highly regulated, local models are going to be the way, definitely. Daniel's saying, okay, yeah, don't buy the GPUs. They are so expensive. cool. If anyone, yeah. Happy guitar playing, says Joe. Thank you. It's a 7-string heavy metal guitar. It is not going to be my partner has said that I have to wear headphones, and she's entirely right, because I'm going to play some horrible things on it. I'm looking forward to it. Paul says, don't you think there's too much doom mongering about AI? It's a weird one. Obviously, I'm very pro AI. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here every morning talking about AI and the AI news. I try to be balanced about it. I think there are great things about AI. I think there are worrying things about AI. I think that when someone like Elon Musk is developing an AI and has billions of dollars to throw at the problem, and then inserts himself as the voice of truth, as we've just seen, I think there were concerns there. So I think a bit of doom mongering is valid in those situations. But I think what we need to do is be educated so that we can have an educated opinion about this stuff. So we can look at some uses of AI and be like, that's great. Okay, fantastic. We are now better able to find certain cancers using diagnostic imaging that is powered by AI. Or we had the news earlier this week of the couple who had been trying to have a baby for 18 years have finally got pregnant because of an AI technique. So those, it's like, fantastic, great. I work with charities doing pro bono work and doing things like helping refugee charities show their refugees and asylum seekers how to use AI for translation, for example, so they can do documentation. Great use of AI. On the other hand, we do have bad use of AI. We have deepfakes, we have scamming, we have AI slop videos, we have a huge number of abuses because it's a tool that we can leverage and we can use it in any different direction. So I think doom mongering is not healthy, and I think there's too much of that. And I think unguarded optimism is also unhealthy. The truth is, it's somewhere in the middle. AI is a general purpose technology in the same way the internet is. And what we build on top of that technology is kind of up to us. It's the same with computers, the same with the internet. The platform that is created is relatively neutral. It's what we build on top of that with the technology. And I think we can do amazing things or terrible things. And it's important to be educated about the difference between them, because both sides tend to just ignore the other side. Like, once somebody's locked in, they're like, no, I love AI. Then anytime there's anything negative, they will dismiss it, and vice versa. So anyone who hates AI and everything about it, they will never look at the positive things, and they won't listen to arguments about, like, for example, the water usage of AI. Bit of a red herring, but some people heard that fact years ago and they're like, oh my God, it's drinking the oceans. It's like, no, it's not. But they won't listen to the logical arguments about it. And then they can't understand the real risks of it, which is electricity. It's not water, it's electricity. But they're too blinded by hatred to actually get anywhere. Actually, speaking of AI slop, this was a piece of news that I forgot, but let's look it up. It's not actually. So on the 15th, so next week, YouTube have changed their monetization policy. So you will no longer be able to make money on YouTube using inauthentic content. So there are restrictions. Let's see if we can actually find it. There we are. In order to monetize as part of the YouTube Partner Program, YouTube has always required creators to upload original and authentic content. On the 15th of July, YouTube is updating our guidelines to better identify mass-produced and repetitious content. This update better reflects what inauthentic content looks like today. So it's always been a problem. They've always said you cannot have inauthentic or and it must be original content. But up until now, it seems like they don't know how to identify it. So this suggests that they have found a better way to identify this content. Now, not all of this content is AI, but a lot of it will be. So this isn't just a blanket ban on, for example, faceless content. That's fine. This is a ban. No, sorry, it's not a ban. This is a demonetization of Bigfoot diaries or dogs flying biplanes in World War II, or all of that AI generated video that you've seen that gets bewildering numbers of views. and has been generally called AI slop. So the thing about AI slop is people do want to watch it, and you can see some of these videos have hundreds of millions of views. I think, was it 2 weeks ago? The top video on YouTube was an AI generated story about a baby in a shipwreck and blah, blah, blah. Terrible. It was, but that was the #1 video on YouTube. People do want to watch it, so we can't take that away from them. The problem with AI slop is that it floods the platform. So yes, we're seeing 1 or 2 breakout successes that get hundreds of millions of views. Great. Underneath all of that, 99% of it is just people spamming as much content onto YouTube as possible in order to have that one breakout hit of 1%. Because with AI, you can produce huge amounts of content very, very quickly and then upload it into YouTube and social media. That is an existential threat to something like YouTube, which is all about surfacing the best content. If suddenly the amount of content on YouTube goes up by 100%, I'm sorry, 100%, 100 times, then that challenges their ability to bring to the top the content that people want to see. And then if people keep going on to YouTube and all they see is AI slop and they're like, oh, rubbish, YouTube is broken, they're not going to come to YouTube. If people don't come to YouTube, YouTube loses their advertising revenue. That's what YouTube is for. It's for getting eyeballs on one place so they can generate cash. It is not for us. It is for the advertisers. If we are using it for free, then we are the product. It's our attention that they sell to advertisers, and that's how they make money. So slop is a threat to YouTube, and that's why they're doing this. This suggests that they have a better way of cracking down on it. It's still very vague, so it's still original and authentic versus inauthentic. That's really hard to define. It's also hard to detect using the tools as well. Excuse me. Oh, that's annoying when you have a sneeze and it does not come. So we're going to see next week, but it should theoretically make YouTube a better place to be and a better place to consume content. And hopefully, personally, I hope that this kind of thing happens on Instagram and TikTok as well, because they are pretty flooded with trash. I did a video about this on TikTok the other day, and most people are hopping on and being like, yeah, no, let's get rid of this. Like, it's ruining TikTok. The people who are like, no, this it's still, you know, it's still art, it's still valuable, people want to watch it. Without fail, I clicked on their profile and they're all making AI generated videos. So take from that what you want. But I think this is a positive direction, and it's a good example of good uses of AI versus poor uses of AI. I think that just spamming the internet with AI generated content is a very short-term it's a short-term enjoyment for humanity. We get to watch a lot of fun videos, but then we're going to be training our future AIs on this content, on these videos, on the blog content, etc. And then it's a race to the bottom in terms of what we can do with AI and potentially culture moving forward. That's a much bigger issue about human intelligence and human attention spans. Won't get into that right now. So we'll see what happens over there. Cursor, ghost emojis in the code, and then 36 here. Jolly good. Oh, Paul saying there's so much doom mongering regarding jobs. Yeah. So I think again, there's doom mongering, but then there is the reality of the situation. I think it's hard to deny that AI will be it's not going to take jobs directly. It's going to reduce the number of new jobs. And we're already seeing that. So for the first time ever in 30 years, the number of US graduates between the age of 22 and 27, their unemployment rate is higher than the general average. So these are white collar workers. They've graduated from college. White collar workers going into entry-level positions. They're between 22 and 27. So for the first time ever, their unemployment has gone over the national average in the US. That's a very worrying move. The only people whose unemployment has not increased in the US in that group are people who are in computer science and mathematics. because they're working in AI. So I think there are trends happening where it's not AI coming in and directly taking jobs. That's a very crude way of doing it, but instead it is AI, meaning that less people need to be hired at the base level. And we're seeing this in graduate programs like the Big Four in the UK and the US, so KPMG, etc. They're hiring less people at the bottom. So the graduate schemes bringing people in is decreasing because the number of people needed is less, because AI is helping to take up the slack. And this is going to be the case in a lot of professions. So law, accountancy, advisory, consultancy, etc. If you have an AI which can allow one person at the bottom to do the jobs of 5 people, you don't need to hire the rest of the people. So I think what will happen is that we'll have a pyramid like this. This is how most companies are structured now, with entry-level managers, leadership at the top. We're going to see the bottom of that pyramid start to contract. From there will be the realization in about 10 years that, oh, we don't need as many managers. Why do we have this many middle managers when they have less people to manage at the bottom? So you start to see a contraction up here. And then again, because you've got contraction in the management, you have there's no natural pathway to the leadership. You don't need as many leaders at the top either. So we'll start to see companies contract as AI eats away at the bottom. I think it's going to be more that than just straight up, they took our jobs. So it's going to be more insidious and slower, but I think it is going to happen. So that is doom mongering in a way, but I think doom mongering with a mechanism. I think there's not much we can do as individuals to stop that happening. All we can do is prepare ourselves for the fact that 9-to-5 jobs may or may not be the main source of our income moving forward. It's probably going to be a component of our income, but it's a great time to start a business or build a product or start consulting or do something on the side, so that you get to control what happens to your income and you get to control what happens to your life, rather than sitting and waiting to see what AI does to your particular industry and your particular company and your particular job. Thankfully, AI also makes it easier than ever to start a business, to start a side hustle, to build something valuable. We have the tools that allow us to do that. So this is a scary time, but also a time of great opportunity for the people who realize early, oh, this is going to change things. Let's get ready for this. So that's a lot of my newsletter. A lot of my content is all about that, saying, hey, there is a big change coming. We should not ignore it. And anyone who's telling you that it's not going to take jobs is trying to keep you calm. It's the governments and the corporations. They're trying to keep you not thinking and not worrying too much about it. But this is happening. And as soon as AIs get good enough to replace these jobs, they will do so. So at the same time, what you need to be doing is thinking about other sources of income and how you secure the future for yourself, your household, your family, etc. But we can do that using AI as well. So it's a double-edged sword. One of them is good. AI could eliminate marketing, admin, finance jobs. Yep, but all we hear is program jobs. Absolutely, it can. Operational and admin jobs are highly automatable. Right now, we're seeing jobs that are white collar, so mainly brain-based. That's because the models that we happen to have right now are really good at those tasks. So these entry-level graduate positions in like legal firms, for example, is mainly discovery. You do discovery work in order to learn the chops of the legal profession. Do you know what's really good at discovery? AI. So the legal firms are replacing clerks with artificial intelligences, which means we need less of them. So right now it's going to be white collar. Later on, when robotics catches up, we'll start to see it shift into other jobs as well. Things like logistics, driving. The number of people who are drivers in the US, I forget the stat, it's like 10%. It's a large group that will be gone in 20 years, 20, 30 years. There will be pushback from unions, there will be pushback from safety regulations, etc. But in the long term, becoming a driver, for example, I don't think is a solid choice, because we have self-driving cars and they're going to get better and better. We just need to get ready for this because it is happening. Daniel says, I have zero coding experience, by the way, but I'm using Cursor's $20 a month to build my framework. AI is amazing. Yeah, Cursor and vibe coding is amazing. you can use natural language to describe what it is you want to build. So where ChatGPT can have conversations with you and it can think things out with you, it can't necessarily build for you, whereas Cursor is the next level up, or something like Lovable or Bolt. They're kind of more simplified versions, where they allow you to not just come up with the idea using the AI, not just kind of hash out that idea, but then to bring it to life and to create something using AI, which is really, really cool. If you haven't tried vibe coding, I would highly recommend just hopping onto Lovable or Bolt right now and then just typing in, hey, I want to make an app for such and such and such, and then seeing what it does, because it's magic. It's one of those ChatGPT moments, much like probably the first time you use ChatGPT. It's like, huh, wow, this is good. You can have that same moment with Lovable. Cursor is fantastic, but Cursor does have a steeper learning curve, so it requires more upfront kind of learning and trying to work out what's going on. And I find when I show people Cursor for the first time, they're like, ooh, because it looks like a scary programming interface, and it is. It's an IDE. But whereas Lovable is literally a chat box, it looks like ChatGPT. You put in what you want to build, and it gets to work. So very, very, very cool tools. Just scrolling through. Can you see a difference in how AI is used in the US when compared to the UK? So I've done trainings in the US and worked with US companies. I would say more enthusiastically in the US. I mean, I think I can say this because I'm British. We tend to be a bit negative and not get very excited about things. So I've shown many groups. I do workshops, I do trainings over here, I do consultation. I'll show UK groups how to use AI, and often they'll come back immediately with the, oh, but what about the data? Or they'll come back with the negatives immediately, instead of seeing the magic of it and being like, oh, wow, I can do so many things with it. Whereas whenever I've taught in America, there tends to be an inherent optimism where they will see this thing and be like, oh my God, I'm going to be able to do so many things with this. This is so exciting. I'm going to teach all my staff members. I'm going to, I'm going to start using this in my daily life. Can I use it for this? Can I use it for that? And there's that enthusiasm and excitement, which you don't really see in the UK as much. And then the Americans will realize like, oh, okay. Oh, but what about, the environment and data privacy, etc. They're still very cognizant of these things. It's just not the first thing they think of, which is what tends to happen in the UK. So having general conversations as well about artificial intelligence in the US, much more optimistic. In the UK, much more pessimistic. However, China is even more different. So I speak Chinese. I used to live in China. I was there about a month or two ago. They are so enthusiastic. So I was on the plane flying to Beijing, and I started chatting to my seat neighbor, and she was from Hangzhou. And that is where DeepSeek is headquartered. She did not know that I was into AI or had anything to do with AI. And that's how she introduced it. She said, oh, I'm from Hangzhou. That's where DeepSeek is from. And then she started telling me about DeepSeek. It is a matter of pride. It's a matter of national pride, what they're building over there. And you go into bookshops in Beijing, I presume around China, the bestsellers are books about how to use AI. I did a TikTok video about it. Let me grab a book actually. Where is it? So this here, this is one of the best sellers when I was in Beijing. So it's a whole book in Chinese about how to use DeepSeek. These, when you go to bookshop, Barnes and Nobles or Waterstones or whatever it is, and you have the tables at the front, and then you have the books stacked up near the desk, etc. It was these books. So there is an excitement and a general usage, which I haven't seen in America and I haven't seen in the UK. They're teaching AI in school, how to start using it. Once I was looking for a particular dumpling place in a hutong, in like an alleyway neighborhood in Beijing. This is a couple of months ago. And I stopped an older lady, and I said, excuse me, in Chinese, excuse me, I'm looking for dumpling shop. Do you know where it is? She has, any of you speak Chinese or are Chinese, the Beijing accent is very thick, very, very, very thick. It's got a, it sounds a bit like a pirate. I love it. It's the best accent. But she had such a thick Beijing accent that I was struggling. She pulled out her phone and she asked DeepSeek to translate, presumably to this idiot foreigner, to translate where this dumpling shop is. And then DeepSeek replied in English to me. So she was maybe 70, maybe older, and she had DeepSeek and was using it. So I think you have China, most enthusiastic. They're really going for it. US, very enthusiastic. And then the UK, pessimistic. And then well, I'm not going to clump the whole of Europe, but the work I've done in Europe, it tends to be the most, even more pessimistic than the UK. To be fair, I did stuff with EU affiliated and World Trade Organization, UN affiliated organizations. So they were very, very strong on the negatives of AI and less excited about it. So I think there are, this is huge generalizations, but there are different levels of enthusiasm towards AI depending on where you go. Do you think paying for Pro ChatGPT is worth it? This is Mrs. M. It depends. It depends on you really, and how much. If $20 a month is a lot for you, so I use it every single day. I don't think I could survive without it. I pay for Claude and I pay for ChatGPT, and then I pay for Cursor and Gemini via that. I use ChatGPT mainly for my day-to-day stuff. The best thing about ChatGPT is it has that long-term memory, so it can learn about you. Whereas I use Claude more for kind of project-based work. I use them every day. If I didn't use them, then my work would take many, many hours more per day. So for me, $20 a month is probably the best $20 a month I could spend on anything. It's much better than Netflix, for example. But it depends on you and what you use it for. Also, the free plans are fairly generous. So I would say start with the free plan. If you start to run out of usage, if you start to find you're hitting limitations, then think about upgrading. But until that point, you don't need to upgrade. You can just use the free plan, see what it's like for you, and then go from there. Hopefully that helps. But again, it depends on how much $20 is for you. If that's a large amount, then obviously that's a different calculation. Do you sell prompts? No, I do not sell prompts. I have a newsletter, and in the newsletter itself, I basically have a playbook where I will talk about a particular usage of artificial intelligence. So, for example, I did one recently on using AI to research competitors and then come up with a leapfrog offer. So jumping over them by creating something that's better. And then, so there are prompts as part of the newsletter, but they're part of a workflow. So I don't just sell the prompts. Well, I don't sell them at all. They're free. So it's in the newsletter, and the prompts are all available there. There is a library somewhere floating around which has all of them as well. There's hundreds by now, but no, I don't sell them. Paul, I'm sorry you don't sound technical at all, and apparently you have a history degree. Yeah, I'm not technical. Sorry. So what I do, and what I help other people do, is I go into businesses and help explain to them why AI is important for them as lay people, not as technical. So probably a good example here is I went in and did some charity work, and they'd already had an AI trainer come in, and it'd been provided by KPMG. They'd been given money as well to get this training done. And this guy came in and he had 2 PhDs. He'd written a book on machine learning. Absolute genius. I'd love to meet him. Like, fantastic guy. I know, I've read his book. But he came in and he talked to these heads of these charities, who are mainly women in their 60s who come from social working backgrounds. He talked to them about large language models, how they work, how you train them, back propagation, gradient descent. He went through how AI works. That's not useful. What we need are people who are embedded in certain industries. So for me, it's marketing personally, who can go in and explain to lay people, to non-technical people, which is the majority of people out there, why AI is important and what they should be using it for and what they should not be using it for. So even in a company like Google, Google is 47% non-technical. those people in operations, in admin, in marketing, they need the same help as the engineers. The engineers are fine. The engineers are using this stuff already, so we don't need to worry about them. But what happens is most people who are talking about and most people who are training the non-technical people do not know how to talk in non-technical language. They scare people off. So I've actually done big trainings at like Miro, the kind of whiteboard company. I'm sure they have a better name for that. And I asked them, like, why aren't your IT department doing this? Why aren't your AI department doing this? And the reason was those people were not able to explain the importance of AI to non-technical people. So that is the space I absolutely fill in. I'm at no point have I purported to be a technical expert. And I do have a history degree. I'm very proud of it. Thank you. You don't sound like you know much about finance, computer science, mathematics. Finance, yeah, I have an MBA, and I've started and worked with multiple companies. Mathematics and computer science, no, I do not. You're fun, aren't you, Paul? So holler at me all. Says UK are always behind. I'm also from the UK. You can see it would take time for the UK to catch up. I don't know if we can catch up, honestly. The amount of money it now takes to train a model is so high that I don't know if we can gear up our AI industry to spend that amount of money. I don't know if we have enough money, honestly, for that. And as I was talking about giving grants of $1 million, Meta giving us a grant of $1 million to train 10 people, that's the kind of level that we're working at now. I don't think the UK is a contender in this at all, unfortunately. I think that has passed, it is gone. Fatma, do you know what age they start teaching AI at school? Is this in China? I don't know what age. Should we find out? China. 6-year-olds, apparently. This is according to Fortune. Yep, China's AI education starts at 6. So I guess that is kind of primary school. About 6 years old, it looks like, which makes sense. That's a decent age. 10x1c says, are you not scared about AI taking over human jobs? Yeah, it's a big problem. I talked about this briefly. I think the impact it's going to have from an economics point of view is it's going to knock the base out of a lot of industries, and then we will have increased unemployment. When we have increased unemployment, we don't have as much money circulating in the economy to buy things, which means other companies there's an impact on them because they're not able to sell anything. And that's kind of what capitalism is underpinned by people working so they can make money to spend on things that is being built by the people who are working. So capitalism as a whole could be in trouble. We have to remember that that's the system we've only had for 200 to 300 years, capitalism. So while it seems like the paradigm that should always be here, that is not necessarily the case. This is not me sticking on my communist hat and saying take down the system. But I think we need to be realistic about the fact that if we have an economy where work is devalued, human work is devalued, then we need to have another basis for how our economy is. I'm not smart enough to answer that question, but we need to start thinking about that as humanity, because something's going to happen. We just don't know what it is yet. Noah Yuval Harari, what's his name? The guy who wrote *Sapiens*. He did an interview and he said, this is the first time in human history that we have no idea what the world is going to look like 10, 20 years from now. Previously, we've always kind of known the trajectory. We know roughly where the technology is going. We know roughly the kind of drift of history, and it'd be punctuated by wars, punctuated by revolutions, etc. But this is the first time where we don't know. Like, the world 20 years from now could be completely unrecognizable to the world today. And we need to start discussing that and getting ready for it. Burying our head in the sand won't do anything about it. So yeah, I am scared. I think in the long run, it's where humanity is going, and it will be beneficial. That doesn't help the people right now who will be losing their jobs, and the people over the next 10, 20, 30 years who will not be able to work, who will not have money. That doesn't help those people. But I think in the long run, 50, 100 years from now, this is where we need to go. But that progress is going to hurt people in the short to medium term, unfortunately. Where to start learning more about AI to become an expert and be hired in that area? So as I just said to Paul, if you are not a technical expert, don't try to be. There's no need. What we need are people who can communicate why AI is important to people in our industries. So I would focus on communication. I'd focus on public speaking. Yes, absolutely build a solid base knowledge of AI. Start with deeplearning.ai. It's not my site, but it's a really good website. Start with Andrei Karpathy's videos on YouTube and three blue, one brown. Still can't say it. I mentioned them earlier on in live as well. They're going to give you a decent foundation in how AI works. You do not need to fully understand or be able to build models yourself to be able to help people. So in the same way that we use the internet every single day, but if I asked in chat, what does HTTPS stand for? Or what is a URL? What does URL stand for? How does a URL work? Most people can't answer that. That does not matter because we use the internet on a daily basis. And that's where we are right now, where we need to start teaching normal people, lay people, non-technical people, how to use AI to better their lives and to avoid the job losses that will be coming. That, I think, is where you should be focusing, not on getting a PhD in machine learning, not on, the complicated mathematics required to build models, but instead we take it down a few layers of abstraction and we focus on how we can help people to actually use AI on a daily basis. Bro just gives out pure alpha. Thank you, no. Oops. Just scrolling. Fatma, oh, sorry, 10x1C is saying, feels like more jobs will be taken and emerge. Big corporations are saying they're slashing. Yeah. So some of it is due to overhiring, especially in the tech sector, but that argument is getting thinner and thinner as we move further and further away from COVID. Yeah, it looks like they're slashing, Microsoft famously, but also the non-creation of new roles looks like where we are going. The idea that AI will create new jobs is, I mean, yes, absolutely. It will create people who have to make and maintain AIs. Absolutely. There will be some. There will not be as many. So with previous technologies, so the plow, the printing press, the computer, etc., the calculator, these technologies all demolished jobs. So we no longer needed certain jobs. We created the plow, so we didn't need, we created a tractor, so we didn't need as many plow horses, for example. But it would always replace the jobs. It continued to create jobs. I think it's different this time because AI is a different type of technology. So up until now, the technologies we have created have been tools that we can use. AI is different because AI can be the operator of the tools. We can give the AI multiple tools and it can work out how to use them. So this is different. This is not replacing a tool like the plow or the abacus. This is replacing us, human intelligence and cognition. Obviously, the terms intelligence, etc., we don't want to get into the murky waters of that, but it can replace wholesale a human being, whereas previously the technologies generally required an operator. That is no longer the case. So I think we're going to see a different shift this time because AI can use tools. It is not just a tool, it is an operator. And in many cases, it is a better operator than human beings. No is saying, what do you rate Claude Opus 4 for legal advice? Okay. So for legal advice, seek legal advice, go and see a lawyer. That said, it depends on how important the legal document is or whatever you're working on is. If it is genuinely important and life-changing, then still go and seek legal advice. If you need a boilerplate contract for, I can't even think of anything. Well, if you run a business, you might want a boilerplate contract put together and you don't want to spend $1,000 getting it done by a lawyer. Then there is a usage of AI where you get a boilerplate off PandaDoc, for example, a template, You get it off Panda Docs, you give it to Claude and you say, hey, interview me as if I was your client and you are a solicitor, you are a lawyer, and this is the document that you're interviewing me for. This is what a lot of legal work is. It's putting together documents based on client interviews. So Claude will give you an interview, you will answer all the questions, and it will change the document based on that. What you can then do is you go to a new chat with your new draft and you say, hey, you are a lawyer, punch holes in this. Where are the problems? Like where are you going to find, where will this be difficult for both parties in this particular contract? And you can use AI in an adversarial way to find complications and difficulties within your legal contract, within your legal argument. And then you can use that to redraft again. And then you'll have something that's probably 80, 90% of the way there. Then you can take that to a lawyer and you can have them sign off on it. You can have them do the final stages. So instead of hiring them from the beginning to do everything from scratch, which is going to cost you a lot of money, you do a lot of the base work and then you take it to them and you get them to sign off. And that works really well. And you are still covered because you have the legal responsibility because they've signed off on it, because an AI cannot take legal responsibility because it is not a person. But you haven't had to get 10 billable hours. It's 1 billable hour instead, much cheaper for you. So that's generally what I'd recommend. Not legal advice, but that is a way you could do that. Hey, Larissa. Holler at me, y'all. Sorry, I won't do the American accent. I wanted to teach parents how AI can be taught to kids. Should I look at the US market or the UK or US? This came up. Where did this come up? This came up yesterday in one of my lives. We were chatting about this in my workshop kit live, which was last night. Unless this is you, I'm not sure if it is. So AI can be taught to kids. So this is a fairly global market, I would say. I would start, I mean, the US is always going to be a larger market, whatever you do. It's a larger market and people spend more readily in the US. So if you're starting a business and you have an option between the US and the UK, US always. That said, if you can make it work in the US, it can generally work in the UK as well. I'm assuming you're UK based, otherwise this wouldn't be a question. You just do it in the US. What you can do though is you can base your business in the UK, or you can do it in Delaware if you want better tax. But I'm not going to give tax advice. But you can make sure that your content is applicable to both, because honestly, I think it is. Whether you're a UK or a US parent, how you teach your kid AI is going to be important. So I think this came up on a call yesterday, as I said, and I think it's a really good business idea. And I don't know of anybody who is in this space. So it's definitely something worth looking into. I know people who are talking to teachers about how they should use AI. I cannot think of anyone talking to parents specifically. I might be wrong here. I'm not the demographic. But I would look at building content. So using TikTok, using Instagram, wherever the parents are hanging out. I would do short form videos explaining to them, this is how you should use AI. This is what's important. You can do things like relay the news. So whenever there's a new piece of information, like the new Grok 4 coming out, for example, you become the lens between the news. This is what Grok 4 is, and the parents. You are the one who filters that information through, and you tell them why it is important for them, and why they should be paying attention, and you help them filter the signal from the noise, basically. And that puts you in a really good position to then sell products. So you could have a AI parenting bootcamp or an AI parenting quick start guide, for example, which would sell. But you'd build that off the back of content and educating and teaching and giving out value. You could do lives like this. You can do short form videos. You can do a newsletter, etc., etc., etc. And then you can make sales from the back of it. And I think this is a really good and valuable area to focus in as well, because parents are going to need this. I mean, parents need help with the internet, so they definitely need help with AI, especially with things like character AI and AI companionship, AI girlfriends, AI boyfriends, etc. That's going to be a big issue over the next 5 years. I'm going to put it up. I always put it up. It's a really interesting one. So most trafficked. No, that's not the right word. Most popular AI apps. This is going to be interesting. Here we go. The top 100 Gen I consumer apps, 4th edition. So number 1, ChatGPT. Number 2, DeepSeek. Makes sense. Big Chinese user base. Number 3, Character AI. Huh. Interesting. The number 3 is not Perplexity or Claude or anything like that. It is an AI companionship app. So we, the people on this call, probably, we are not the main users of this. This tends to be much younger demographics. Then we have 4, Perplexity. 5 is Janitor AI. That's another companionship app, despite its name. Then it's Claude, Quillbot, Suno. Number 9 is spicychat.ai. I think you can guess what that is, etc., etc. So companionship, whether it's not safe for work or safe for work, is a huge part of the AI market, and the main consumers are young, they're children and teenagers. That would be where I'd be focusing my efforts in terms of helping parents, helping them to work out, what is that? Is this a problem? Is this okay? What do I need to do about this? I don't have the answers here. This would be what you help them with. Sorry, just scrolling through. Amazing, Carl. Thank you for your feedback. Yep, I mean, I think it's a great idea, honestly. And somebody needs to do it if nobody is. What's the best AI to use for eBay and selling online? I don't know. If anyone does know in the chat, though, please say. I don't know myself, I'm afraid. Will AI mean that we won't have to watch your videos anymore? Oh, very good. Thank you, SDM899864. Very brave. I'm in the UK. I want a career in AI. Where do I get started? ABC with Teacher Kim. Are you a teacher? So I would be looking at that sector, so helping parents and helping children with artificial intelligence, because they need help. They need a lot of help in this particular sector. So what I just discussed. And again, in terms of starting resources, if you go to YouTube, I actually explain this. The recording of this will be available, and I actually gave some learning resources at the beginning, so I don't want to repeat myself too many times. Deeplearning.ai, Andre Karpathy on YouTube, and 3 Blue 1 Brown on YouTube as well. They will give you a solid technical foundation, but generally it's going to be from using it, using AI as much as possible, learning what the limitations are, using it in your daily life, talking to other people who are using it and finding out what they're using it for is always really interesting. And then teaching other people. So if you can teach, you're a retired ESL teacher. Okay. So I would start finding out who you can help. So if you worked in customer service or retired ESL, work out who it is you want to help, who that group is, and then you can focus your learning on that, because AI is such a broad topic. It's kind of like saying, how do I learn computers? It's or how do I learn internet? It's too broad. But if we can work out who it is we want to help, who it is we want to talk to, who we want to sell to, if you want to start a business, then we can focus our efforts there. So you can ignore whole parts of AI with no problem, as long as you're focusing on what's going to be helpful for the people that you are going to be talking to. The best way to find that out generally is to start making content, start putting things out there, and then your audiences will tell you, oh, this stuff's really useful, or oh, we want to see more of this. And you can see which videos do well, which videos don't do well, and that gives you real-time feedback. It's really hard to come up with it in our head, but if we talk to audiences, we start helping as soon as possible. You can document your learning journey, for example. We will very quickly find out what's valuable for them, and then we can focus our efforts in that direction. Okay, I've been talking for an incredibly long time, probably because I got distracted with that new guitar that arrived. So I'm gonna hop off because I have a lot to do. But thank you so much, everybody, for the questions. If you're a troll, then go and have a miserable weekend. But I will see you all on Monday morning. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.